Imagine a quiet, introverted second grader causing a ruckus that would cost his school a hefty $600 fine. Impossible, you say? Well, let's dive into the story. Our protagonist was a model student, the kind who wouldn't harm a fly, let alone cause a school-wide commotion. He was known for his serene demeanor and impeccable behavior throughout the school. But there was one thing that always intrigued him: a small red box mounted on a wall with an inviting sign that read, "Press here." This wasn't just any button, it was the forbidden button, the button that had been the subject of stern instructions from the teachers to all the students. "Do not touch it under any circumstances," they had warned. However, the more our young protagonist was told not to press the button, the more he was drawn to it. And so, on one fateful day, the quiet, well-behaved kid gave in to his curiosity. Despite the warnings, our young protagonist found himself drawn to the forbidden red button. And on one fateful day, he gave in to the temptation. Now, you might be wondering what could possibly happen from pressing a simple red button. Well, let's plunge into the chaos that ensued. Picture this. The moment my finger left the button, a piercing siren filled the air. It was the kind of sound that made your heart race, your palms sweat. It was a call to action, a cry of danger, the alarm. It rattled the calm of the after-school program, and in an instant, the tranquility was shattered. The scene turned into a whirlwind of confusion. Teachers sprinted in every direction, their faces etched with concern. Their usual composed demeanors were replaced with sheer panic. Children's laughter and chatter transformed into shrill cries and frightened whispers. It was like a scene straight out of a disaster movie. Amidst the pandemonium, I stepped away from the wall, my heart pounding in my chest. I schooled my face into an expression of utter bewilderment, mirroring the other children. I was just another innocent bystander caught in the unexpected bedlam. And then came the whine of sirens from outside. The cavalry had arrived. The fire brigade, in all their uniformed glory, stormed into our little school, prepared to combat a non-existent fire. Their presence only added to the existing chaos, but also brought a sense of relief. In the midst of all the pandemonium, a teacher even questioned our protagonist, never suspecting the well-behaved, innocent-looking child could be the culprit. As the dust settled, the blame had to fall on someone, and unfortunately, it fell on the wrong person. In the aftermath of the chaos, a fellow student was singled out, accused of pressing the forbidden red button. Can you imagine? The school, in its rush to find the culprit, was quick to point fingers, even attempting to impose a hefty $600 fine on his unsuspecting parents. But the accused stood firm, persistently denying his involvement in the chaos. It was a classic case of a scapegoat, an innocent accused of a crime he didn't commit. His persistent denials eventually led to the school dropping the fine. But the damage was done. Suspicions were aroused, reputations were tarnished, and the true culprit still roamed free. And so the dust finally settled, the blame wrongly placed, and the fine dropped. But our protagonist still carried a heavy secret. Years passed and the incident became a distant memory, but for our protagonist it remained a closely guarded secret. The guilt of that day had settled deep within his heart, like an anchor in the ocean's abyss. He was the quiet kid, the well-behaved one, not the sort to cause an uproar. Yet, it was his actions that had set the entire school into a state of chaos. The fear of revealing his secret, the fear of facing the consequences, the fear of seeing disappointment in his parents' eyes kept him silent. He held on to this secret like a burden he was destined to carry, a shadow that followed him even in the brightest of days. But the heaviest part of it all was the guilt that another student had to bear the blame. The guilt that someone else's parents were almost charged with a $600 fine. The guilt that he, the innocent, well-behaved kid, was the one who had caused it all. Even today, as a 32-year-old, he's scared to reveal the truth. The red button, the chaos, the guilt, all of it still lingers in the back of his mind. A secret kept for over 2 decades, a story untold. And there you have it, a childhood secret, a $600 fine, and a lifetime of guilt. A simple red button, a moment of temptation, and a story that's hard to forget.